Alright, wakey, eggs and bakey, veterans, military. Hey, today we will be talking about the proposed changes to VA disability ratings for sleep apnea, tinnitus VA ratings, ear, nose, and throat, the entire category. Please leave a comment what you think about this, and if you were one of the only 2,600 veterans out of 6 million that could have made a significant impact on this, let me know. Let's get into it. And looking at this document, it's looking like it might just happen. I don't know who wrote this, but they are absolutely savage when it comes to writing. So we're looking at the regulatory impact analysis for the schedule rating changes for ear, nose, and throat and audiology, as well as schedule ratings for respiratory system. So this is a large document. I am only going to cover just the sleep apnea portion as well as some other, key spots, but let's jump into it. So first of all, impacts, estimated impact. They don't care about any veterans being impacted by this. They even made assumptions for almost everything when it comes to this proposed ruling. And I've seen some videos out there. It taught, a lot of creators talk a little bit on it, but they're not really going into the significant impact and the significant analysis that the VA, VBA, OPM, whoever developed this document, they went balls deep. I'm telling y'all. So, estimated impacts are only talking about how much the VA will be saving by implementing this. Moving on from here, the most important portion of this. So with these proposed changes, and it's not just to sleep apnea, it's not just to tinnitus, it's to everything ear, nose, and throat, as well as respiratory. A reduction will only be warranted if it is shown that the veteran's disability has improved. So for the purposes of this estimate, the VA assumes veterans would not apply for additional compensation disabilities based on this rulemaking. And this rulemaking is pretty much those who are service connected for sleep apnea at 50% down to 0. It's only 20% of veterans who are service connected as sleep apnea. At 30%, they will then be 0 as well. They're trying to make the criteria for sleep apnea, as well as a host of other disabilities, a lot harder to get service connected, as well as once you've obtained service connection, they do not want veterans walking around with just a 50% rating alone for sleep apnea. Moving on from there. Once this goes into effect, because how detailed and how direct this document is, any lawmaker looking at this is like, okay, we're going to be saving money over the next 5 to 10 years by preventing veterans from seeking sleep apnea benefits from those veterans who are already service connected, who are not at 100%, who are already service connected for sleep apnea. They're not going to go in for an increase on anything. Moving on, another assumption. Okay, underlying this analysis, veterans will not respond to the publication, and they were absolutely correct. So when they published this earlier this year in February, veterans had until April 18th to submit any comments towards this. You know how many comments they got? 2.6 thousand. Do you want to know how many veterans are currently receiving VA disability compensation, service-connected disabilities? Almost 6 million. So there's almost 6 million veterans currently obtaining VA disability compensation. And you know how many comments were on this fucking document? 2,000. I can almost guarantee between the amount of veterans, not even it's a fraction of a percent of veterans took this serious in February. And I can assume this is going to happen pretty soon, if not January 1st. Going into this, the second part of that assumption is many veterans, 2022, 2023, will try to get service connection for sleep apnea prior to the ruling. However, the VA can always come back and be like, hey, we got DCs, veterans rated at 0%, 30, and 50%, and 100% levels. Cool. The VA proposes to add a 10% level, eliminate 30, and update the rating criteria to 0, 50, and 100% levels. They kind of missed the 10% in there, but hey, I'll give it to them. So the revised rating schedule for sleep apnea will only utilize for newly granted claims. With a caveat, veterans already service-connected for sleep apnea prior to the publication will continue to be covered unless they apply for a rating increase. This is any increase. So any veteran trying to submit an increase for their overall VA disability, the VA will be prompted to now look at their sleep apnea claim, see when they got it, see when the effective date is, and then see if they can decrease it. They're going to be aggressively trying to decrease and block veterans from holding that 50%. Especially, there's a lot of veterans who are not at 100, and 90% of veterans, going on to the next one, assumes veterans rated at 0 and 100% levels under the current will receive the same ratings. Cool. I mean, if you're at 100, you have serious issues. If you're at 0, you know, you have sleep apnea diagnosed, you don't have the symptoms needed for a 30 or 50%. So, moving on to the meat and potatoes. For veterans who are currently receiving 30%, they will be reduced down to 0. Who are currently receiving 10% will be reduced to 0 as well. Veterans who are receiving 50% right now, estimates 90% would be pushed down to 0. 5% of that 90 will receive a 10%, and the other 5 will receive a 50% rating. So with that being said, they're going to be saving money. Why would they not get this proposed change in the system? It's going to happen. Like, they're tracking almost 40,000 veterans in 2020 alone. They're like, look at this specific number. We got all these veterans getting service connected for sleep apnea, 30, 50% criteria. Okay, cool. 90% of these veterans are about to be 0%. If and when, it's not, you know, when this will get enacted. Because at this point, looking at this data, looking at this information, I don't see why anyone wouldn't approve this proposed change. Yeah, there's a lot of veterans in the ether saying they don't want this change to happen, but only 2,600 veterans out of 6 million who are currently service connected for VA disability benefits have voiced their concern. Now, if it was maybe 10% of the veterans, maybe they'll be like, oh no, you know, okay, let's backpedal a little bit, you know, let's do a couple more revisions. But not even a percentage, not even half a percentage of veterans went onto their website and gave their opinion on what they think that the VA should do to this proposed bill. And looking at those comments, you know, I don't look through all of them because that's going to take too much motherfucking time, and I ain't got it. But majority of them were against it. Cool. You know how that would have looked if at least 1 million veterans or 100,000 veterans went there and actually gave their 2 cents? No, they didn't do that, you know. And I mean, shit, during the same, makes no fucking sense. Anyways, implementing this change, majority of it's going to be tailored towards attacking veterans currently service connected for sleep apnea, as well as those who are trying to seek benefits, bust them down, prevent new veterans from trying to submit for any sleep apnea claims. Because if they're already, you know, it's just gonna be, why even try to go for that one? Because it's like so, it was impossible to get service connected before, and it's gonna be even more impossible to get it service connected now, as well as those veterans who currently hold sleep apnea and is not considered permanent. It's not considered static, as well as they haven't met that 10-year rule. The 10-year rule maintains you at your current VA rating. 5 years, you'll maintain service connection. 10 years, you will maintain the percentage. There's a lot of veterans, 40,000. They're attacking that 40,000 who just got it in 2022. And they got until 2032 to maintain that 50 and not submit anything else, or at least make sure that their medical evidence supports them maintaining 50% at the next criteria. But in this document, whoever developed this, they cold. They fucking cold. I'm telling y'all. They took everything into consideration. How much would it be saving? Who to actually target? Which veterans to target? How this change will prevent veterans from trying to get increases next year, in the future, next 10 years at least, you know. Current veterans were already service connected. How we're going to get their ass and get them decreased, and so on and so forth. So